Hi folks, I'm Spencer, and on today's episode of Cult Mania we're stepping back into 2001 with David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, which is now in 4K. Ooh, and in a box. Ooh.
Mulholland Drive.
For those of you that don't know, Mulholland Drive started out life as a potential TV series. This is the pilot. I think the idea was way back, was that it was going to be a Twin Peaks spin-off that was going to follow Audrey going to Hollywood. Then that didn't happen, and it warped into Mulholland Drive, and then it didn't get picked up as a TV series, which still makes me very, very sad. So Lynch went, well, I've got 90 minutes of footage, I'll stick an hour on the end and release it as a film. And that's what he did. Mulholland Drive follows Betty, played by Naomi Watts, in what was really her big breakout role. I think she was pretty much ready to give up on acting, but anyway. She is a wannabe actress who is travelling to LA. She's sort of connected, her aunt is in the movie business, so she's going to stay at her flat while she's in Canada. And when she gets there, she finds a woman, played by Laura Haring, who has no memory. She's been in a car accident, that's all she remembers, she doesn't know who she is. And Betty decides to help her and to try and help her discover what has happened. It's a typical, Lynch mystery. And whilst all this is going on, you have a couple of weird subplots. The main one being about a film director played by Justin Theroux who is trying to keep control over his film, which I'm sure is something Lynch is pulling from some sort of, past experiences there. Because the studio were trying to make him cast certain people and all this sort of stuff. And you also just get these weird little asides that were definitely supposed to be more important in the series as a whole. They're setting up plot lines that don't go anywhere, but somehow still actually manage to feel relevant.
I can't believe it. I'm just so excited to be here. I'm in this dream place.
Now, the performances in the film are very Lynch. There's a lot of... I think Justin Theroux goes for the most stereotypically Lynch thing of... He's sort of weirdly quiet. He does that sort of standing around looking vaguely confused, but also acting like everything that's going on that's really weird is sort of normal. Like he's confused about something else, which I think is the typical Lynch. That's how I describe a Lynch-style performance. But the star of the film is Naomi Watts, and it's no surprise that she was, is still around now. And I think you can tell that she was at the point in which she was thinking she was never going to get a big, huge movie role, because she really, really goes for it. Her performance at the start feels very odd and stagey and actor-y, which I think is an odd one because it's not the sort of weird disconnect that I think you get normally in a Lynch film. But it's a film about Hollywood and about the Hollywood dream and what people perceive Hollywood to be like and what it's really... So actually, this sort of overly actor-y performance makes a lot of sense, and she contrasts it well in more sort of... When you see her doing less of that, I think she's fantastic in this.
What are you doing?
Get out of the car.
Shot by cinematographer Peter Deming, who Lynch has worked with on other projects. There is a very distinct switch in the cinematography of the film between what was the TV pilot and what was the stuff that they shot to turn it into the film. the sort of first 90 minutes are incredibly... There is a degree of sort of beauty to it. I mean, there's nothing... This isn't a film that's going to blow you away with ridiculous camera moves. It's got a very effortless feel. The camera often sort of glides around. It's got this very soft look, which I'll go into in a bit more detail in a minute, which has that very sort of glamorous Hollywood feel about it. Whereas I think when you move into the second half, the camera becomes a lot more static and starts to look much more like Lynch is fully in control. I think earlier on, when it was potentially a TV pilot, you get the sense that it's a style that anyone could start to recreate, whereas you just get these more... The camera movement slows down, you get a lot of static, wide shots that feel much more like, especially what you can notice in something like Twin Peaks The Return. Now, I'll have a little discussion of the new 4K restoration. This is the Studio Canal release which we've got in the UK. It is exactly the same print, restoration, everything that Criterion are using in the States for their 4K release. It's just different boxes and different people putting it out. The Criterion logo still shows up at the start. The film hasn't looked this good probably since it was on a cinema screen. It does look fantastic. Like I said, Mulholland Drive has this very soft, there's a sort of a glow to people's skin and to light. And they've done a fantastic job of sharpening the image, making it that bit, that 4K-ness, without losing that soft Hollywood glow. It's almost got that, like the sort of Vaseline trick that they used to do to make people look, but it's got that feel about it, which contrasts nicely with it's a Lynch film. There's a lot of scenes that are very, very dark, and I think sometimes we've had releases of Lynch films where they're too dark on home video. The copy I've got, Blue Velvet, is very dark, and Mulholland Drive suffered from that in its last version. This is great because, again, they've kept that darkness in the image, but you can see just that bit more. I never thought this is too dark, and I never thought they've lightened this too much. There's a shot which is one of the most disturbing shots in any Lynch thing, that is even more disturbing in this new restaurant because it's still dark, so you get enough detail, you get a bit more detail that makes it more unsettling, but they've not ruined the shot by overlightening it and showing the effects that I'm trying not to say what is. I'm sure anyone who's already seen the film will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the girl is still missing.
The soundtrack for the film is once again composed by longtime Lynch collaborator Angelo Badalamenti. There is some stuff that Lynch did in there as well. It's got their fingerprints all over it. If you've heard any of the stuff they've done before, you know what to expect. These very beautiful strings, and merging those with these really dark ambient drones. There's even some sort of rock and roll guitar that makes you think of something like Twin Peaks. It's got all the stuff that you know. I don't think it's a standout, although I noticed it a lot more, whether it's the new 5.1 mix that they've sort of restored on this version has brought the soundtrack up a bit. I mean, the last time I watched it was on Amazon Prime. Do not watch it on Amazon Prime because the sound is spooked. No, the soundtrack is great. You've got Lynch doing his usual, there's bits of pop scoring that feel really random but work. And I think they did a really clever thing in that, because you've got strings and some sort of brass, it's got this feel of old Hollywood about its soundtrack, but they don't go too hard on that, because I think that could have been a really poor decision. I think it would have made it cheesy, and thankfully they've avoided that.
Silence.
And Mulholland Drive to me has some of Lynch's best moments. It has one of the most terrifying sequences in any film. A scene that easily could have been cut out of the film and repurposed as a short. You know the bit I'm talking, the Winkies bit, which is just fantastic and is so unsettling and scary. And I think before I found that I enjoyed the pilot episode section massively, and the first time I watched it, and then I was like, oh my god, what is happening in this other hour? It confused the absolute hell out of me. I felt like you could literally draw a line in the film as to where it is, that the one bit finishes and the next bit starts. I don't find that anymore. I don't find it jarring. And this is the first time I watched Mulholland Drive, and I thought, I completely get it. I completely understand what's happening, which is not, not something I tend to think you can do with later Lynch stuff. So it really worked for me, and I think it's got the right balance of everything. There's the weird stuff that's sort of funny, sort of creepy. I think the romance elements in it are very interesting and very well done. There are some incredibly, incredibly beautiful moments. Lynch doesn't get enough credit for striking, beautiful, emotional moments. People don't talk about the emotion in Lynch films, they just talk about the weird. The Silencio scene in this is so beautiful and sad and is weird, but it's got so much emotion in it. And I think, yeah, it just captures a sort of weird, longing nature.
Where's this going?
I guess I ought to do a little chat about what's in the box. It's not a very practical box, and it's slightly too big. Anyway, so you've got the film, you've got 4K and standard Blu-ray. You've got this booklet with writing about the film. It also has 10 clues to help you decrypt Mulholland Drive, which actually I first looked at them and I was like, this is no help at all. But actually, I think it is. Obviously, don't have to read it if you don't want to. You can make up your own mind. That is the great thing about Lynch, because he'll never tell you what it all means, so you can make it up for yourself. Got some like postcardy things that aren't very rigid. They're more like photos. They're like press things. I've got two of the same one in here. Don't know why. And then you've got two posters. You've got the new artwork. Oh god, it's upside. I've cut this up. It's upside down. Got the new artwork. I can't. It's too big. Yeah, that. And then you've got the original poster as well. And that's it. This box is huge and really heavy, but you realise that actually it doesn't need to be this big. Which is weird. I keep trying to tell if there's anything behind there, some sort of secret thing, but I don't want to destroy the box. Answers on a postcard. If you've taken this piece of black card out, if there's anything behind there, let me know. But yeah, oh god, I've made a right mess here. It's a very impractical box as well, because it's too big. It'll have to live on a shelf on its own. There's quite a few bonus features on that as well, which I would comment on if I'd watched them, but I haven't had the chance yet. But if you love Mulholland Drive, I mean, I love anything Lynch except for Inland Empire, but I will watch it again. Because I didn't love Mulholland Drive the first time, like I said. I loved the first part and then it lost me. But I've had that with other Lynch stuff. I've had that with Blue Velvet, and every time I've watched that, I've liked it more. And every time I've watched Mulholland Drive, I've liked it more. To be honest, I have that with every single Lynch film. I think they just get better and better, because you understand and you spot new things, and no, it's just he's probably the best living director in my opinion. So I am very biased because Lynch is just God to me. But no, I still don't think Mulholland Drive is my favourite Lynch film, but it's gone up in my estimations the more time I've watched it. Yeah, it's just a fantastic film, and this is the best way to see it. But that is just my opinion. What do you think of Mulholland Drive? Are you going to buy this new 4K box thing? Have you got the Criterion version? I don't know whether the bonus features are the same on that version. Sorry about that. Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe so you don't miss any more videos, and I shall see you next time.